Welcome to Out of the Blank.
Welcome back to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Mikey Bowser, documentarian, paranormal explorer, venturer into the unknown. This is your second documentary or third?
Yes. No, this is the fourth, actually.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Good for you.
If you want to count the first one, I mean, the first one we did was really, really basic and kind of an evidence reveal, where the other ones have actually had like theories and whatnot based on the history of the locations.
Can you take me through each documentary that you made? Like, what are they about?
Yeah, I can. Our first one was it was Discombobulated in the Dark. It was about our investigation at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia. So that was more of an evidence reveal. I mean, it did go over the history, but just like, I mean, like insane asylums and prisons, like when you go and investigate those as a paranormal investigator, it's cool because you get activity, but it's kind of like you're interacting with guards, you're interacting with prisoners, where I kind of like the locations that have a little bit of mystery to them.
Like when there's a dead child involved and you got to deal with a toddler throwing toys at you, not a lunatic that probably killed 20 people and he's coming back from the grave to get his revenge with a shiv.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is one I'll talk about here in a second where there was a dead child in the basement, and it all kind of ties together. But we'll get to that one in a little bit.
Did you know they put the Tate murder house where the Manson family killed those people? They put it for sale.
I know. It was so expensive too. I forget. It was a couple $1 million.
Would you buy it? Wait, it was a couple million after a horrible murder was there?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's in California, so it's going to be expensive as hell. But yeah, I mean, I'd buy it if I had the money.
That's the life lesson, is that just get super famous to a point where when you kill somebody, the property value goes up, not down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, going back to the first documentary, so it was just an evidence reveal. We did have some cool stuff. If I can figure out how to share a video here later on, we do have some clips from it. But a lot of the main things that we got to interact with was in the lobotomy recovery room, because this is the place where the ice pick lobotomy was first invented. So there was a weekend. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but there was a couple hundred people in one weekend that they lined them up and just brought them in and just ice pick lobotomied them.
Wait, was this in New York? Was this in New York?
No, it's in West Virginia.
Oh,
but I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe I think it was JFK's sister or cousin.
No shit, really? It was his sister.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
That's fucking nuts.
By Dr. Walter Friedman, which we did get some interaction with Walter Friedman. We got some interaction in the lobotomy recovery room, where there's a clip where there's a guy and he has a West Virginia accent. And I asked, I had the spirit box on, and I asked, when you were alive, did you receive a lobotomy? And it comes through and goes, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did."
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so we got a couple other cool things. I mean, there's a legendary room. They call it the bedpost murder room. It's a very sad story. There was a guy who was intellectually disabled, and there was a murderer, and then two just insane. They don't call them prisoners, but they're essentially prisoners. And they did horrible things to this guy with intellectual disabilities. His name was Devin Metheny, and they tried hanging him at first by tying a bed sheet around his neck and pulling him up on the piping that was above on the ceiling of the room, and they failed. They just couldn't hold him up long enough. So then they decided to take a bedpost, put his head on the ground, and pretty much curb stomp stomp him with a bedpost, and it
Dude,
went through his
what are you
head.
doing to me here? I didn't know it was all this. Holy crap. Where'd you find? Wait, so I knew you said the Kennedy thing because you know I'm interested in that.
I knew.
How do you know? All right, see, he did have a sister that did get a lobotomy, but I think
Yes.
she survived it. I don't think she died
Oh
from
yeah,
it.
she did survive. A lot of them do survive. There was when I was researching, because we do a lot of research before we go to these locations. They actually there was I don't remember the year, but it was a pretty recent article where they interviewed a gentleman who received a lobotomy, and just he talked about how horrific it was afterwards. Like he may have had some mental issues, but after the lobotomy, he felt disconnected from the world essentially.
Well, when I had Robert Whitaker on here, who ran Mad in America, and we talked about lobotomies, I mean, there was a point where it was so normal to get lobotomies. I mean, you had a headache, you had migraines, you had something that maybe someone found you annoying, get a lobotomy. And I think at one point, the reason why I asked about New York was in one point in New York, they did like 300 something lobotomies in one day. Like there's a photo of it. The guy had no sleeves on, like his arms were getting hot because he did so many lobotomies or something. So he was like, I
Are
don't
you
need
sure
any
that was New
sleeves.
York and that wasn't West Virginia?
That was New York. It was an open event. It wasn't in the house. They just literally did it out in the street and was like, hey, everyone come down here. And, is it the same guy with no sleeves? Did the no sleeves thing trigger something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it may have been Walter Friedman. He might have been just kind of going on tour. He was the inventor of the ice pick lobotomy, so that may have been him.
That's nuts. Cause like the number of documents that I've came across where they were like, there's a guy, General Walker, who was apparently Lee Harvey Oswald's pre-assassination attempt, allegedly. I mean, the FBI documents said that he's a liar. I wouldn't trust a thing he said. But one of the documents was a letter, I guess, that they found out Walker wrote himself, acting like another person, saying, "Don't give Walker any Russian lobotomy or ancient or psychiatric doctors. Let him see him." And it was just like, whoa, that was like MK Ultra before it was MK Ultra. Like, don't
Yeah,
give him,
yeah,
you got a witness or somebody that's saying a bunch of stuff. Hey, let's fix him real quick. Maybe he needs a lobotomy. Then afterwards, how do you feel? I feel fine. And I've heard interviews that people talk about, not just the horrors of it, but just how they talk afterwards, where it's like, I was a normal kid. And then, my parents said I wasn't listening. So they gave me a lobotomy. And you're like, dude, imagine that. Like ice pick to the
yeah, yeah,
brain.
yeah. And it's almost like I know I have a couple family members who have Asperger's, and they have like a little bit of a disconnection, and that could be the same scenario with the lobotomy. It may trigger the same thing that causes autism. Maybe there's something with that frontal lobe that we just don't know about yet. We don't have the research yet.
I trust a machine doing it. I don't trust a person. Imagine if you sneeze mid lobotomy and you're just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Now you don't know math and you don't know how to talk. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
exactly. I don't think I trust any type of lobotomy, to be honest with you.
All right. So when you were scoping out this place, looking through the horror magazines and you came across it, give me the rundown. Why'd you choose this place?
Well, I mean, it's not really horror magazines, but this is like probably one of the most prominent paranormal investigation locations. It's actually one of the most expensive too. I think it was about $2,000, not a person, but for a team of 10, so it came out to about $200 a piece, which is pretty expensive for the locations and whatnot. So it's a pretty prominent one. Pretty much everyone in the field knows about it. Everyone will say it's on their bucket list. I mean, it has a really dark history. But again, I mean, I loved it. It was a crazy place. We got a lot of activity. I actually got a picture of something that looked like a goat head with a robe on. It's like a mist in the lobotomy recovery area at the end of the night. So there may be other things besides patients and orderlies there that haunt the location,
You gave
but
me you gave me a brief rundown of a couple of the activity stuff you got, and then you're able to relate it to like a guy with an accent. And did you look up any of the things that you saw to see if there was some type of historic event? If you're talking about like a guy or a mist figure with a goat head in the lobotomy room, I mean, half of the time these doctors, especially like if you look at like Sidney Gottlieb, the guy who was in charge of MK Ultra, he was doing it like I mean, it's horrible things that were happening, drugging people with LSD and making their whole reality snap, but you're doing it for research purposes. I wonder if anybody thought of the idea of like putting on like a Halloween like goat head or something like that, and then just fucking with the person, seeing what would happen before their lobotomy happened. I mean, the whole thing is to check if their personality changes and their reaction time. So I would think after you give somebody a lobotomy, you just walk in front of them with a Halloween mask and see if they get scared or not. Do they react normally?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, they do have the history. A lot of the tour guides and whatnot. There was nothing with a goat head or or anything like that that we could find. But one of the ones, the bedpost murder room, we did get a lot of evidence that coincides with the history there, and they never knew why those people killed Dean. They're not sure why. They couldn't find a reason. He seemed pretty almost like childlike. But we did get a couple. It's electronic voice phenomena, or they call them EVPs, and they said he hit me. He hit me, and I'm wondering if he may have hit one of the people that killed him, and that kind of provoked them to do violence back at him.
Are you sure that that wasn't his reaction? Like he hit me, he hit me. Like that's a little boy tattletaling on a person who might be abusing them, or he might be
It could be,
manufacturing.
but they said that he was a mute.
Ooh, ooh. Do you think
Yeah.
that they might have curb stomped him to fix the mute? That's a bad. Don't answer that. That's a bad
No, I'm
question.
pretty sure they curb
Yeah,
stomped him because they're
fucking.
just evil people that wanted to kill
Yeah,
him.
that makes more sense. Well, I
But yeah,
mean,
I mean
wait, do you
that's the
stay a
first.
mute your whole life, even when you die? Do you think that they don't give you the ghost ability to be able to talk?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, we don't know enough yet to really have any definitive answers. That's how in one of the later documentaries I did, there was a device called an ovulus, and what it is it's a device that kind of spews out. It has a like a little encyclopedia or dictionary in it, and I kind of question it, but they say that the spirits can go in and manipulate it, and it can spew out words that they want to say to in response to your questions.
Oh my God! And women have those.
Yeah, yeah.
You said an ovulus, and I was like, oh, it's ovaries.
It's over. He's so Jesus.
It
I
communicates
love that
with
your
ghosts.
mind goes right to that.
I know. Still 1,200 episodes in, and we're still dirty. Um,
But
okay.
the
Go ahead.
spirit using the ovulus, it came in. It was in an area where there was a man. I can't remember his name. It was at the Grand Midway Hotel, but he got hit in the back of the head. He came in to bust the place. It was during the Prohibition time, and he was like, "I'm gonna go snitch on you guys" or whatever. And he was going out the back of the bar, and someone hit him in the back of the head with a 2x4, and they just pretty much beat the shit out of him till he was motionless. And then a taxi came up, not knowing. The taxi mustn't have saw him. It may have been foggy or something, and ran him over. So we were getting things. We were asking questions to him. I think his name is Paul Stansky maybe, but don't quote me on it. But we were asking questions to him, and it seemed like it told the story because it said like the fumes, light I see, struggle, pain, and all this stuff. But it seemed to go tell the story in reverse. So I was wondering in life if Mr. Stansky may have been dyslexic, and even in death, he's still dyslexic, and that's why the story was kind of being told backwards.
Jesus. You know what's crazy is like imagine you do die and you still have to like you're still disabled in the afterlife. It's like when does it end?
Yeah,
When
exactly.
when does it
Or like
end?
there's a maintenance worker at Hillview Manor who haunts the basement named George, and he died and he's stuck at work in the boiler
Oh
room in the basement.
God. Imagine that. He must be getting
Yeah, that'd be
overtime.
brutal.
He must be getting
Yeah,
overtime
for
or something.
sure.
Um, did you look at like just the history of events in that town of like with just Virginia? I mean, if you have a guy during the Prohibition that gets, hit in the back of the head, beat the shit
Well,
out of,
this
and
was
then
a
ran.
different location. This was
Okay.
in Wimber, Pennsylvania. That one. But you were talking about people in death if their disabilities in life are corrected. And I don't know. Yeah,
Okay. All
because
right.
that one kind of was an example of that.
That's
But
fair. All right. So what activity take me through the first activity? What was the first thing like when you guys arrived on scene? Did you guys stay the night there? Did you guys just stay there for the night? When I mean that, I mean like they're spending the night, and then there's just staying there until like a reasonable late hour and then leaving.
I mean, it depends on the location. At this particular one at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, I think the investigation was from 11 to 4 a.m. Yeah, I mean, we did a tour. And for some reason, I got a feeling we were on the fourth floor, and the tour guide was giving us the tour, and she's just walking ahead of us. And I said, what's up with that room? Like that room just, it's dark. It looks like murder. She's like, well, I wasn't actually going to tell you about that, but that's an old nurse's room.
I paid $2 fucking grand. You tell me every damn thing about this place.
Well, I mean, if you want them to, they will, but you won't get to investigate because the place is huge. It is crazy huge. But she's like, yeah, someone was in there last weekend and they were doing a spirit box session and they got scratched. And I was like, well, shit, I'm going to go into that room. That's the room I want to go in by myself. And we were planning on it. But the reason I called the documentary Discombobulated in the Dark is we couldn't, like, it's like you couldn't find your way around. It was like a maze. It was like a labyrinth. It seemed like everything was changing on you. And I wanted to go in that room. I wanted to target that room so bad, but I couldn't fucking find it. And it was like that the whole time. Like when we were in the basement, that's where they did the lobotomies. I couldn't find my way around. I couldn't find my way back up to the first floor. Because what we did was we broke up into teams. We had 10 people, so we'd have, 2
Do you
people
not watch
in one
Scooby
team.
Doo, dude? Do you not watch it when they say, split up into teams, it always goes bad?
Yeah, I wanted to go bad though. That's the point. But we would break up into teams, and the building was so huge, and we would have like a team of 2, a team of 3, and a team of 4. And there's 3 floors of it. It's called the Kirkbride building, and we would have we'd switch every hour. This team would be on the 3rd, this team would be on the 2nd, this team would be on the 1st, and then there'd be no team in the basement. But then we'd all just switch, just so everybody got to hit up at least the floor. Obviously, I mean, you could spend an entire weekend in that building alone and you still couldn't hit up everything. It's so huge. And that's just one building. That's the only building they open to investigators, unless you're famous. Then you can go to the other buildings. But the original property was 13 buildings on 666 acres of land, which is, what a coincidence.
I'm so confused. What do you mean you couldn't go to the other buildings?
Well, because they're kind of in disarray, they only allow the public and public investigators to go to the Kirkbride building, which is it's the biggest building on the property. But there's also a medical building right next to it. They don't allow you in unless you have like a TV show or something.
What the fuck?
Just,
What are they
yeah, I know.
expecting Woody Harrelson or fucking Willie Nelson to go down there and be like, I want to investigate this place? No, just open it up to the public.
Well, it's paranormal TV shows they allow in there.
Oh, the secret stuff is for the guys that get on the HBO and the BBC stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly. We're not there yet.
We're YouTube free content creators because we care about the people and we haven't sold our souls, or we haven't sold out yet.
Yeah, exactly. I made a goal though. If we ever do get a point where we can sell out, I'm still not faking anything or anything like that. It's still going to be authentic. I don't care. They tell me, oh, we're going to give you millions of dollars, but you have to fake evidence. I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves. I'm not doing that.
I want to see one of your documentaries where you're just eating like those Toll House crackers, like the really shitty orange, like peanut butter ones, and you're just eating it on camera and like something actually happens. That would make it, dude, because you're just like, you're not making fun of the situation, but you're just creating light. Obviously, you probably have a lot of content that you can use, but then what's about the, like, how much content do you have to use? And then how much do you not have based on how long you were there? You're there 5 hours.
Oh, well, that one, I mean, yeah, we had a lot. I mean, it was insane. I did a lot of solo sessions because they had the isolation chambers. And what they would do is they would lock these patients in there for, weeks at a time, and they would be chained to the floor. And you could actually see where they didn't have the chains in there anymore, but you could see where the chains were put into the floor. And I did a couple sessions in both of those. I got a lot of crazy responses, which a lot of it made the documentary. but I had some that didn't, because I mean, I didn't want to make a 6 hour long documentary. That's the thing about any of the locations. I mean, we investigate. That's probably one of the ones where we didn't have a lot of time, but some of them you stay there the whole weekend, and you have just an exuberant amount of phenomena that happens, but you have to really pick like which ones are going to be documentary worthy.
How long in did you solo?
In this case, I did one in an isolation chamber outside of the lobotomy recovery room in the basement for about 40 minutes. That one I got a lot of cool responses, but the one I did another one in an isolation chamber on the second floor, and that one was probably about 35 minutes. And that one was so intense. At the time, they're no longer with us in the group, but two of our former members came in
They
to grab me.
died? They
No,
died? Oh.
that's what everyone says when we say they're no longer with us.
Well, just say they're no longer part of the group.
Yeah, well, they went on to do their own things, but they came in about 35 minutes into my session to get me, and my camera just died. And it was like, I mean, you could feel the static in the room. It was like the energy was so intense, and my spirit box was still going off. I was when they came in, I was changing the battery on my camcorder, and I just asked, "Hey, was that you that drained my battery?" And a voice came through and said, "Ha, yeah, it was, clear as day."
Did you sign a waiver before you did this?
Yeah, you sign a waiver at every
Did
location.
you read the waiver?
Um, that one I did not.
I'm
Other ones I've
very
had.
I'm very skeptical where like if you're getting like this is like the way you're describing it sounds like the most voice responses I've ever heard where I'm like, did someone put like a walkie-talkie in the room? And it's kind of like one of those 4D things where they mess with the air quality in the room. Okay.
No, definitely not. Watch the documentary. It's no.
Okay.
They
Just
don't
making
do that.
sure. I'm skeptical
Yeah.
on that shit. I mean,
No, I don't blame you.
I believe
Dude, I've
horrors are
gotten
real, but they're
activity.
charging $2,000 a fucking pop to go down there or $200 a head. That's something I'm like, they definitely have
It's
enough
because it's
money.
that immaculate of a location, though. I mean, I've got stuff that's crazy at places that aren't even paranormal places. Like one of the most intense, well, I'll say one of the most responsive things that I received. My cousin and my uncle, they flip houses in the area where I live, and they were flipping. It was the first house built in this small town. That's kind of one of our neighboring towns, and they were flipping it, and they kept like just seeing all this weird shit. Like my uncle caught a picture, and it had a giant energy orb. Which orbs I question because a lot of times it's dust or bugs, but this one was huge, and he said he saw it with like his naked eye, like it just went up the stairs. My his wife, my aunt, saw a shadow figure when they first went to buy the house, just staring out at her out of one of the windows when they were looking around outside. And then they did demo because they were demoing the whole house, and they were going to just build all new walls and everything. And as they were demoing stuff, they kept finding like pictures, old Polaroids, and all this random shit that was just put into the walls. And like they found a toy pirate ship that it was probably from, I would say, maybe the 80s, and it was in the ceiling in the kitchen. So they kept telling me like they kept hearing stuff and all this stuff. So I'm like, I'm coming over and investigating. So Hannah and I went there the first time. I went twice and investigated with my cousin, and we got all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, it was insane how much energy is at this location. But the craziest part was after the investigation, I couldn't find my flashlight. It's one of the twist top ones. I always like to use it because if you set it up and you ask questions, sometimes they'll turn the flashlight on and off. And we were doing a session like that in one of the cubby areas up in the on the second floor, and I was like, it has to be up there. So we went up there and we're looking. All the lights are on, and we're looking through. And my wife's digging through the floorboards, and she pulls out this little boy's pair of shorts that she found in the floorboard and sets it down. And I'm like, holy shit, that is creepy as hell. And you start hearing footsteps going up the steps, and I thought someone broke in. So instead of grabbing my camera, I grabbed my gun. And I'm waiting because I thought it was like a homeless person that breaks in. Sometimes that happens when they flip houses. And it walked up, the lights were on, and it walked up walked over to the other side, and there's no walls on the second floor because it was completely demoed. So walked over, that's where we had the pirate ship because we were using it as a trigger object earlier in the night. Walked over to where the pirate ship was, and then walked over to where we were, and then just it stopped. But it was clear as day footsteps. It was intense. And I'm so pissed that instead of grabbing my camera to record it, I grabbed my fucking gun.
You're a smart man. I don't fucking blame you at all. I would grab my gun too, whether it was a ghost or not. I'm popping holes in whatever the hell I'm shooting at.
Yeah. But no, that's what I mean. There's energy at locations, and I mean, you don't have to fake stuff. Like in Trans-Allegheny, there is so much death and just horrible situations that happen that it's in the walls. It's just there.
It's intense, dude. I don't blame you for the gun thing. There's that little self-defense thing where they have like a mini baseball bat on a keychain, and it's like the size of probably like from your pinky to your wrist, or at least my pinky to my wrist. I have a big hand, so I mean my pinky to my wrist, and it's a little baseball bat thing. But I was like, what the hell is that gonna do? And then like I got hit in the knuckle with it. I was like, holy shit, that could break a fucking it's enough to just make you like take back a little bit. Like, okay, I definitely don't want to get hit with that, but it's probably not going to stop somebody who's like maybe bench presses a car or something like that, but it's definitely enough to like freak somebody out, unless you got a gun, then you're kind of screwed in that aspect. But I digress. I would go to one of these haunts with you if you can find a location that is a haunted, like amusement Chuck E. Cheese spot where it's like got those animatronics and shit. I would go to that Willy's Wonderland.
Well, the group is actually going. Hannah and I can't go because we can only go to so many locations because of the baby. But the group, I think it's next weekend, or maybe the fall. It's sometime in September. They're going to a haunted amusement park. It's called Lake Shawnee. It's in West Virginia. A lot of dark stuff happened there. I don't know. I don't think it has animatronics, but it was closed, I believe, in the early '90s, maybe even the '80s. But there was a lot of deaths that happened, and it was also they were digging up because it's West Virginia. They were digging up to be able to have a mud pit for their quads so they could go mudding. And as they were digging up this pit, they kept finding bodies, and it was a Native American burial ground that they didn't know was on the
What
site.
the fuck?
Yeah, and then it was an amusement park for a while. I want to say in the early 1900s. There were a couple. It also had a pool, and there were a couple drowning deaths. And then a girl also died on the swings. They had those like giant swings that go around in the circle. I want to say one of the chains broke, and I think that's how she died, if I remember correctly.
Who's in charge of this investigation? Who do I need to talk to send me a text to go to this thing?
That would be Sean. That would be Sean.
You got to investigate some locations where I live when you come down.
Yeah, yeah.
October's coming up. It's about to be a whole season for it.
I know. It's just like I said, it's hard for us to really get too many places. And it's hard to do weekend ones too, because my mom has to watch Leo. So we pretty much do one weekend location a year. And then the other ones are just one day ones where we go there, stay the night, go there on a Saturday, stay the night, and then come back Sunday morning. Just because we can't overburden our babysitter. not at least not until Leo gets older.
I'll say, yeah, wait till he's like 4, and then you can just have him spend the night over there, and then you can go out and do whatever the hell you want. That's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure Leo's great. I'm just saying it's gonna be better when you can like be able to like be like, okay, well, he's gonna be fine. He's old enough, and then now we can go on to these. We got to find at least a haunted Chuck E. Cheese or something. That's like my dream goal destination.
There could be one. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe the one in Monroeville. It seems like that one. There may be a couple deaths that happened there. Who knows?
I would go to Lake Shawnee or whatever, and I would check. I guess that's why they call wild, weird West Virginia, because it's always got all these horrible things that happen.
It kind of sucks. Like in Western PA, I mean, we don't really have too many locations. We have Hillview Manor and then Greenville Manor, which is actually going to be our next documentary. We're going to be releasing that in October. Those are pretty much the two big ones in Western PA as far as locations that are known for paranormal activity. I mean, there's like a lot of local ones, but those are the only two that you can actually pay to go to. Ohio has a lot. West Virginia has a lot. Eastern Pennsylvania has. It's like the circle. New York has a lot. Like every location has, or every state has a lot, except for Western PA for some reason. I don't know why.
I would think that it would be anywhere where there's like severe or serious mental institutions or just medical centers that are broken down. Like that's the hardest thing. Like when you find a medical center that's run down and it's like an abandoned medical center, that's very rare. Usually that does not happen. Usually they keep the same building for a very, very long time.
Well, unfortunately, they've closed a couple and demolished them in our area. Dixmont, I think it was called Hospital. They had demolished that a couple years ago, and then there was one Brownsville. I think it was Brownsville Hospital as well.
You're squinting at me like I would know the answer. I was like, I don't know.
No, I'm just
Couldn't
trying to
help you.
think in my my massive brain. I got to get it going.
I mean, I
But
give you the
no,
guts to be able to even stay at a place that's like, even at night when it's like that. Like, I'm not scared of stuff like that, but I also would be carrying like a small weapon of my
yeah,
choice,
oh yeah, for sure, you have to.
particularly
I
the
mean,
Bible.
it's actually it's more like there's locations where it's more scary outside of the location because paranormal stuff, yeah, I mean there's it's like swimming in the ocean. Like you can go out there and nothing will happen, but then you can also go out there and just coincidentally you get bit by a shark. Same thing. It's dangerous for sure. The likelihood of you getting possessed or something of that extent, it's not very likely, but it happens. There's a
Make my
risk.
life better. Make it better.
But I mean, the risk at a lot of places is the surrounding location. Like we went to a place called the House of Wills in Cleveland, and it was in the shitty part of Cleveland. Like it was terrifying outside. It was an abandoned funeral home. It was one of the first African American businesses in Cleveland, and a lot of history of death and everything. Then we got some activity. We didn't get too much. It's not saying that the place isn't haunted. It's just sometimes they respond to different people's energies differently. And sometimes there's elemental aspects that lead to a better activity, like at certain times of the day, or certain weather. We didn't get too much, but then like you go outside and pretty much had to run to your car because it was just terrifying.
So, can you take me into your experience into the 40 minutes you spent in that room? Mostly like what did you come across and what did you get on video? Where do I get to see the clip of you where you're wearing like a gas mask and you're crouched down?
Oh, okay. That's
Okay.
not we haven't done that one yet. That
Oh,
one's
damn it.
actually
Damn it.
yeah, that one's coming up. That one's the mysterious Monroe house. That's probably going to be maybe 2 or 3 documentaries from now.
Damn.
Um,
How many production stuff are you doing?
I mean, I just try to release one when I can. I mean, I have a full-time job, which sucks and takes away from being able to do a lot of investigating and whatnot.
Well, Christ, people pop out one a year. You're popping them out like Tic Tacs or a guppy
I'm trying.
when a
I'm
guppy gives
trying.
birth. That's good. Good on
I
you,
mean,
man.
we released one in I think it was January with the Grand Midway Hotel. It was a 2-part one. And then we're gonna release another one here. It's done. We could release it now, but we're gonna release it in theaters October 1st, at one of the local theaters, and then on our YouTube page.
Did you ask them about that? Because when I get my film done, I want to release it at a theater.
Yeah. This one, we've actually released one of our prior documentaries at this theater. So yeah, Sean knows the owner. Who knows? When you get your documentary done, maybe you talk with Sean if you want to come all the way to Western
I
PA
will.
and get it
I
in the
will.
theater.
I will 100%. The amount of work I'm putting into this thing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah. But forget where I was going with that.
You're going to the exploration of your 40 minutes in that one room.
Oh, okay. Yes. In the isolation chamber at Trans Allegheny. I mean, the one on the second floor was a little more intense. At one point, I actually had a female entity come through the spirit box saying, "You're cute," and then she said, "Oh, you're built. How old are you?" So it's like she was hitting on me. But the thing is, a lot of the times with the spirit box, you don't hear it until after the fact. And so you get all these responses. Sometimes you'll hear them live, sometimes you won't. But it's when you review the evidence, you're like, holy shit, that came through. That was an intelligent response. I mean, some of the responses I got that. I asked what it was like being in that room, and a female came through saying intimidating, which I didn't hear her response, but then a male, like maybe 2 seconds after, came through saying it sucked. And I did hear that one. Like, yeah, I'm sure it did. I'm sorry. The key to getting good responses, and no matter what location you go to, is to just kind of talk to them like you and I are talking now, and be very respectful, because you don't really have a reason to be like, hey, I need you to do something. It's not like they're zoo animals, they're just people that passed away and their energy's still there.
You're not going in there saying, who wants to fight? Who wants to go? Fight
Yeah,
Club. First full Fight Club. Nobody talks about Fight Club.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So what do you got video wise that you wanted to show?
Oh, well, I got to figure out how I can share it. I got just let me see.
I was seeing some of the screenshots you were putting up, and I was like, oh my God, it's going to be interesting to see. And then now you're telling me that one's not coming out until later. I'm like, what the how many documentaries do you got, kid? Jesus. Got an IMDb profile yet?
No, I you and I talked about that. I need to set that up. I think you do too.
It's free.
Dude, I don't know how to do this. That's why.
So on your Zoom, when your Zoom window's
Yeah.
open, at the bottom in the middle, it says share screen.
Yeah. Do I need to open up the file then first?
No, I mean, yeah, you probably do. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can definitely share right now.
Okay. Just edit this stupidity out.
No, we're going to leave it in.
You're going to leave it in?
It adds character. It shows that paranormal investigators are human just like us.
Oh, God.
Okay, I might have to edit. You're taking a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's killing me. I don't know how the frig you do this. It's saying share, select a window or application. Okay, screen. All right, now there it is.
Jeez, I'm blinded. What is this? How long is this?
What's that?
Oh,
I can cut it a little bit.
Why'd you say Robbie's podcast video? Well, is there sound? Did you hit share with sound?
Can you hear it?
Did you hit share with sound? No.
Here's Trans Allegheny.
You didn't hit share with sound.
Oh, I didn't?
No. So stop sharing, and then when you at the top of the screen where it says in the red stop share.
Okay.
Edit all this. Oh God. When you hit share screen at the bottom, it says share with sound. So make sure when you check that box with sound and then click it.
Okay. Do you want me to just cut it a little bit?
No, go ahead, play the whole thing. I don't care.
Okay.
I'm gonna end up watching it, so might as well.
Okay.
Just don't give me a copyright strike, you son of a gun, you.
Don't do that shit. All these sounds are original.
Robbie's podcast video.
There you go.
Can you tell me what happens here?
Is that you that turned it off? If it is, can you turn it back on for us so we know it was you?
I'd like to get so drunk and watch this.
Dude, you should get hammered and watch it. For sure.
Thanks. That's so awesome, Willie. Thanks so much.
So that was like a flashlight turned on by itself.
Yeah, turn
to the right.
Make it as bright as it can get. There you go.
What was it like to be in this room?
Oh shit.
Son, did you receive a lobotomy
Here it is.
when you were alive?
That's horrible sound, but that's the video. You can see the goat head and the robe. Here was our second documentary, Bel Air House.
In the basement. Bad person. Who's the bad person? I believe it's pretty long.
Who's got the fucking purse?
Maybe. Hope that's not the name. Who was back in the cubbyhole making all those noises?
Pause it real quick. Pause it.
So I'm gonna pause it real quick just so we can talk about that one.
How
That
did
was our
they-
second documentary.
You got when you pause it, just hit stop share at the top and then
Stop share?
go back
Okay.
talking. Who gave you the right to lay in that person's bed after they were dead? You were laying in their bed. I would be so pissed if I was a ghost.
That's one of the locations you actually stay there for the weekend. I don't think that's the actual person's bed that
Okay.
lived there. I think
Fair.
they set it up where you can stay there, but that's the
Little
Bel Air.
Timmy got his head bashed in during a lobotomy. But you can sleep in his bed for only a small fee of $9.99.
Yeah. No, but that's the Bel Air house. It's in Bel Air, Ohio. It's a very, very dark location. I wasn't there the first time the team went, and someone actually got possessed while they were there, and they did not get it on camera.
I've only heard of one of your possession stories, and I think April told me one, and then I think you told me one. A person you were with, or maybe that was April's experience. I guess you guys might have been on the same hunt together. Okay.
Yeah, April was at that location. That was the
Fucking
location.
memory, dude. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
dude, it's fucking still trapped there.
Mhm.
But the history of the Bel Air house, it was built by Jacob Hetherington. He was one of the founders of Bel Air, Ohio, big mining town. You ever hear the house that Jack built, the Metallica song and the Aretha Franklin song? It was actually based on a nursery rhyme that was developed from Jacob Hetherington's mule, Jack. So the Bel Air house is literally the house that Jack built, which, spawned those songs and everything. But there's a lot of mining accidents, Native American burial ground really close by.
How common are Native American burial grounds?
Dude, it's it's PA and Ohio, so very common.
It's like they should have warned me about that instead of quicksand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do you have any quicksand over in the OC?
I've never seen anybody come across quicksand before. I actually watched Fahrenheit 9/11
Yeah.
with Rob Lowe, and they had a guy that was trapped in quicksand. And I was like, this is the first time I think I've ever seen anybody literally die besides a cartoon of quicksand.
Yeah, exactly. And Rob Lowe, actually, he does paranormal investigations too. He used to have a TV show about it. But anyways, go to the Bel Air house. The story is there's a dark entity named Emily Davis. She used to be, there was two families. There was the Hetheringtons and the Davises that founded Bel Air. And Emily Davis was one of the family members of the original Davis family. And they don't know what it is, but the little girl shows up and they think that she's potentially demonic. And she shows up as the little girl. If you remember the clip, it said bad person in a little girl's voice. And then I said, who's the bad person? And a voice came through and said, I am. And then we also got a voice. When it said DV, that meant disembodied voice. There was no equipment on. It just showed up on my camera. And I asked, Sean, we couldn't remember the history. And Sean said, wasn't Emily the Hetherington mother? And I was like, no, Emily was. And a male voice came through and said, I'm Emily. And that coincides with everything that they say, because there's always a male voice and a female voice, both identifying as Emily. For some reason, they don't know why. We also got through the Ovilus, it said Moloch, which is a demonic prince of hell. He's one of the 7 original angels that
I know who Moloch
Satan.
is. He's an owl god.
He's actually a bull god.
I'm about to say, if you look at Bohemian Grove, that's why they have that giant statue of Moloch, the owl god.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, he's originally the bull god. I don't know how he evolved into the owl god, but yeah, if you look,
Why is Danny Glover at Bohemian Grove? There's a lot of questions we need answers to.
Yeah, I know. But he's commonly associated with child sacrifice. So actually, not to give you spoilers, I had 2 theories based on our evidence. One was that something bad happened to Emily. That's why we heard bad person, the little girl. There was a couple other things about sleeping with children and stuff that we got there. And I don't know if maybe something bad happened to Emily when she was alive, and she developed dissociative personality disorder, which is when you experience trauma, you develop a personality to kind of cope with that trauma. It's like a separate personality. And maybe it was the man, and that's why there's the little girl Emily and the male Emily. And she used that as a defense mechanism. And when she died, her persona, as well as the male Emily persona, the defense mechanism persona, came back to haunt the location. Another theory, I had two of them. The other one is we got Moloch. We got an EVP saying, "I am your God," and this roar. And another theory is that maybe there were pagan sects that worship Moloch. Maybe one of them had killed Emily in the basement. That's why she said bad person in the basement. And when they killed her in the name of Moloch, which is the demonic prince that's commonly associated with child sacrifice. And now she comes back, and she's not a demon, but she is a negative entity, and she serves Moloch, and she brings energy from people that come to this location back to Moloch's realm, because they're said to be portals throughout the house. And I do believe in portals. That's one thing I definitely believe exists, and it's portals to another dimension. So Moloch's realm. That's why we got Moloch. Moloch's a big boy demon. There's no reason he would be in Bel Air, Ohio for any reason at all. So, but maybe there's a portal there to his realm, and that's that was opened by Emily's sacrifice, and then Emily serves him. Those are the two theories that I came out with on that location. We're actually going back for a weekend in November, so I really want to see if we can kind of expand on that, and hopefully no one gets possessed.
Thanksgiving special?
It's actually the week before Thanksgiving, so
Getting
or maybe
deal.
it's 2 weeks.
Getting a discount.
Yeah. We're actually having turkey. Sean's gonna make a turkey there.
When it comes, do you ever thought about hooking up a Zoom and recording through Zoom when you do it? Because Zoom has a new feature on it, and it's called captions. So it might be able to pick up something that maybe your frequencies can't, and give you a subtitle for it of what its best description would be. Like right now, I could turn on captions, and as you talk, it would give me captions to be able to see what you're saying if I couldn't hear you. And I thought maybe that'd be cool to have it record just your own screen recording. So you'd still get another camera to look and see what's going on, but you would also get captions in case something you didn't pick up through sound ends up getting picked up through the Zoom, and it gives you a little thing of what it's trying to say. So you're not sitting there listening to it over and over again, trying to figure out what it's saying.
It's possible. I just don't know how you'd be able to debunk it. Because there's some equipment I don't really jive with. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Like phone apps, I feel like your phone can listen to you at all times. So it could answer it could intelligently, and it's because the technology within the app. And that's not the case for the Zoom. My fear would be if noises sound like words, they would caption them. Similar to, there's a device called an SLS camera, which is essentially, do you remember the Nintendo Connects? They map out 3D map the location, and it's so you can like interact with the screen or whatever. Do you remember that technology?
Sure.
They use that in the paranormal, and it maps out the location, and sometimes like figures will pop up. But I always question it, because maybe there's just a configuration of stuff on the wall that looks like there's an entity, but it's just the way the shadows are, and it manipulates it. I think that could happen with sound too, but I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what the Ovilus does too. The Ovilus has a word bank so that you can see what it's trying to say, if that makes sense.
It does. I don't know the capabilities of what the captions could pick up. I
Yeah.
just thought that would be a good
That would have
idea.
worked well with Bel Air, because when we investigated there, I thought, oh man, we got enough evidence definitely to make a documentary. But then I was blown away when I started going through it, because there was stuff that just showed up on camera, like the "I'm Emily" voice, and then there was also a meow. A cat showed up, and it kept meowing, and like no one's reacting to it. No one heard it live. It just showed up on the camera. And the owner told us that it's probably her cat that died, because she used to live at the house, and she would commute to Pittsburgh on the weekends and stay there for the weekend or whatever to work. And then she'd come back, and her cat went missing for a while. And then she ended up finding it dead in one of the cabinets in the basement. And I guess kids broke in and threw it in there. And she's like, I guarantee it, that's the cat that showed up.
I would also put on my wish list of places to go haunt with you guys or go investigate, and I would put Chernobyl on there.
Yeah. That's, I mean, there's a couple safety hazards that
Bring a gun.
you'd have to put
Bring a gun. Just bring a gun.
Bring a gun and like some kind of radiation protection.
Well, apparently they're doing more trips there because the radiation's like dying down to a hard level. But if you've ever seen like the Chernobyl movie and stuff, there is a real issue when it comes to wolves. There are wolves that are irradiated by a lot of the nuclear radiation, and they have like glowing eyes that you can see in the dark, like some weird abnormal mutation shit. And they are feral. Another thing is that there's people that were homeless that snuck in there, and they probably lived there for so long that their brain could kind of be irradiated a little bit from that. So that's a danger too. It was in the movie. The movie hyped it up probably a little bit more than it was supposed to, but there is that real fear of like, holy shit, there might be like some crazy people there as well too. So it's like, just bring your gun. We'll be okay.
Yeah. Maybe several guns.
One
One place I'd always like to hit up would be Stonehenge. Because I don't know if they've ever opened it up to, actual investigators. And I don't know if it's going to be haunted per se, but there's definitely some kind of weird energy there. It's on a ley line, potentially, alien activity there, just all kinds of weird stuff. I mean,
they
I
talked
would
about
love-
building a tunnel under it just so people could like go through under this tunnel, like traffic.
Really?
And I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck do you need people near Stonehenge for?
Yeah, exactly. That would just mess up the integrity of the location. But I would just love to use paranormal techniques, investigation techniques there.
Let's go back to your film. I want to see the rest of this thing.
Okay. Let me see if I can figure it out again. Share with sound. Okay. All right.
Look at that. You're quicker on the draw.
So I'm going to show both parts because this was the 2-part documentary for the Grand Midway Hotel.
Called
The
Robbie's
lighting is
podcast video.
horrible. It is Robbie's podcast video.
I love how you made content for this. That's great.
Minnie, can you turn the flashlight back off?
So this is a REM pod and a flashlight.
What the fuck?
Are you buried under the Grand Midway Hotel?
Oh, wow.
That was actually the second location. There's a church that the guy owns as well.
Martha! Can you please turn it as bright as possible? Ooh, there you go. Thank you.
Are we still interacting with Minnie?
Is there a woman who committed suicide in this room? Is that what happened? Or were you strangled?
Is that all of it?
No, there's more.
Okay.
That's
Why,
was the-
I thought the doll was gonna move like some type of fucking movie.
No,
I was
no.
like, I would throw that thing out the window so quick.
No, that was one of my transitions I made for it. But so this location, there's a lot. It's an old it's in Windberg, Pennsylvania. It's called the Grand Midway Hotel. And he also owns he calls it the Renaissance Church. It's a church down the street. That's where the In God came from. But the story is Minnie is Martha Minnie Serwinski. I'll butcher the year. She died on the balcony of the hotel on July 4th, 1911, I believe it was. And what happened was they were inserting a firework into one of the canisters, one of the pipings, and it blew up in the piping. It didn't exit, and the shrapnel came and cut her throat off, and she died on the balcony. We got a lot of interaction with her. She's kind of she was 18. They believe she was maybe one of the prostitutes at the hotel, because it was a brothel. And I mean, she came through as a playful kind of spirit. That was the one where Jen asked her to turn on the flashlight, and instead she activated the REM pod. And she would always do that, like throughout the night. Anytime we felt we were interacting with Martha, we'd ask her like, "Hey, can you turn the flashlight on?" She would turn the REM pod on. Then we'd be like, "Oh, can you turn the REM pod off?" And the REM pod would stay on, and the flashlight would turn on. So she was kind of always like defiantly playful in a way, it seemed like.
Not to go away from that, but I get why people are like helicopter parents when it comes to like your kids' safety and all that. Jesus Christ, dude, a firework that shrapnel just cut her throat off. I mean, I don't know how many times
Yeah.
I was taking those little M80 things, the single ones, and lighting it, and it burns quick if it's not together on the line. If you just take the individual dynamite things, they burn quick. So you had to throw them real
Oh
fast. And
yeah,
before you can even get it out of your fingers, it's already exploding. Like,
yeah.
Jesus, what? I remember doing that till 3 o'clock in the morning with a roll of like 2,000, just running around and throwing them and just like having them blow up before they even hit the ground. I'm like, I'm surprised I got fingers right now. And then I saw the movie
Yeah.
with Ashton Kutcher where his hands blew off.
Yeah, the butterfly effect.
And I've never touched a thing of fireworks ever since then.
Yeah, that's a terrifying incident. I know my dad has a couple friends who I think fireworks safety back in my dad's heyday wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So he has friends that like they're just all missing digits and stuff from fireworks.
It's like when my town had that giant firework disaster like last year on 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
Where all the fireworks shot off before they even, I think it was like at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or something like that. It was supposed to go off that night, and it was like way late. And it was just a giant explosion of missiles and shrapnel flying at people on the boardwalk. Nobody died though.
Yep.
It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Now, if they did, we could always go out on the beach and, try to talk to them.
How do you
That was
feel you were
dark. That
killed
was
by
dark.
killed by one of those monkey missile things that they have? Or you ever see those? You light it and then it just screams when all the little missile things go up in the air.
Oh yeah.
All right, get off fireworks.
That'd be a bad way to die.
Go back to the horrible grisly murders that you're investigating.
Well, the other story on the Grand Midway Hotel, at the end there, I asked, did you commit suicide in this room or were you strangled? And it came through and said, I was strangled, in a female's voice. The story is, they know for a fact that there was a little girl. They think she's about 8 years old, and she died. They don't know how, but when he bought the building, the people he bought it off of said, hey, just so you know, there's a little girl buried in the basement. And when we were in the basement investigating, we got the little girl. We also got, when I asked, is the little girl down here that was buried in the basement? And a male voice came through and said, so was he. So it's kind of indicating like, all right, there's a man that is also buried in the basement. And then there's a legendary room on, I believe it's the second floor, called the Canopy Room. It's supposed to be the darkest place. It's an angry female entity, lashes out, scratches people, is always negative. She's the one that was strangled. But they had a psychic come in, pretty famous psychic, Chip Coffey, and he said that a suicide happened in the room. But they also think that the woman that haunts the room was strangled to death in the room. So my theory, putting it all together, was that, there was a little girl, I don't know what the time frame was, what the year was or anything, because that place is old as hell. It's like, I don't even know. It's from like the mid 1800s. And the little girl died. The couple buried her in the basement. And then, for whatever reason, they fought or whatever. And the male ended up strangling that woman in the Canopy Room where she died. And then she was buried in the basement because there's 3 concrete slabs in the basement that don't have any like poles or anything. There's no support. They're just random concrete, like there's no reason to have them there. So I think that's where the bodies are buried. So he buried the body in the basement, and then he felt guilt and went upstairs back in the Canopy Room and killed himself. And that's why Chip Coffey was picking up on, a suicide in the room. Now that's just the theory. It's not, there's no concrete facts behind it. But you know, that's what I try to do is develop some sort of theory based on the evidence I get and the known history of a location.
Put more work in than me. Jesus Christ. Dude, this type of conversation always freaks me the hell out. I don't know why my imagination just starts going crazy
It
about
starts going.
well, I mean, just like you start hearing like the history of like you start realizing death is more prominent than you think. I mean, the
Oh
number of
yeah, I
haunted
mean,
locations you probably have visited. I mean, most people wouldn't even think there'd be that number of places out there to go visit.
oh yeah, yeah, they're just everywhere. I mean, and that's just the places that people know of. There's still places like Greenville Manor, the next documentary that we're doing. That place was just bought. I think they bought it last November, and we were actually one of the first groups to investigate at that location. It's an old funeral home. There's several known deaths on the property, and something else there too. So I don't want to give you any spoilers. 'Cause it will be coming out in October.
That's fair. That's fair. Are you gonna play the rest of your video?
Yes, I'll play the rest of the video. Let me
I'm
see.
interested, man. Come on, like it's
You're like,
fucking.
shut the fuck up, Mike. I want to hear the video.
No, it's not that. It's like I get goosebumps when you play it. I don't know what it is. I guess it's maybe the way that just it's the noises and the stuff that's playing, but I don't know.
Oh
It's just-
yeah,
like I said, I watch your documentaries when they come out.
I appreciate that too.
I didn't realize that the one was coming out
Now,
in October.
this upcoming set, we haven't done documentaries on. We may not do documentaries on all these either, just because some of the camera work, it's old when we first started, you know, doing this, and we weren't very good at it. So it's a lot of the evidence is pretty rough. Oh, so the first one's Dar Mine. It's the second largest mining tragedy in U.S. history. It's in Pennsylvania.
Walter, are you here with us? I am Mike. Oh, Mike, wow.
Is there an entity attached to the doll that's sitting in Sean's lap? I think so, yeah.
Sure. Oh!
Actually, I'm gonna play. Okay,
What the fuck was that? What was that? Go back. What
that's
was that?
this. Let me pause it for a second. So, I that was an editing mistake on my part.
I'm gonna have to go back and check your desktop when this video uploads, so I could just pause and see all your icons and look for the porn folder.
Yeah. No, actually, all the icons are going to be Greenville Manor shit because I haven't finished fully editing it yet. But
Well, at least you label it. I always forget and I label it something stupid. Like I have 80 something recording clips, and one just says chicken, one says like cheese. And I don't know what I was thinking when I named it, but I thought it'd be faster to do that. So I'm clicking into it, and then it never shows me what the file looks like. So I have to actually double click into it. Then it has to load up on my computer. And then I figured I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with chicken. This is an interview I did. Can we just re-edit that?
yeah, if I don't keep it organized, it'll be completely fucked. Like because I have my evidence, other people's evidence. Like there's no way you have to keep it organized or it'll get fucked. But all right. Now that clip you said, what the hell is that? This is the full clip of that. So, it's actually one of the coolest pieces of evidence I feel that we have.
Was it a camera falling over?
Yeah, it's a baby monitor. So just to give you a little bit of history, what we do is called the Estes method. So we'll hook somebody up to the spirit box with noise canceling headphones in another room, and then we'll ask them questions through the baby monitor. They're not going to hear the questions, but they'll call out the answers that they hear through the spirit box. And we're in a different room, so we'll be able to hear what their responses are. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You're using somebody as bait. That's not fair.
So it's Sean.
Camera.
Do these cameras make you uncomfortable?
Can you get to talk one real quick? Can you knock one of the cameras over, please? Not the $1,000 one. Preferably the baby monitor.
Right.
I remember you telling me about not the $1,000 one.
Yeah.
I'd be a terrible storyteller.
Sir?
Oh!
Oh, it knocked No, it knocked mine. It knocked the baby monitor.
Oh my gosh.
Dude,
Right?
you good?
What was it?
That was the baby monitor.
We asked it to knock it over before.
Yeah.
Look at that, dude.
So we did
It's
a
on lights.
secondary. We have a
We
couple
asked
other
them to
cameras
knock
in
the
there with
camera over.
Sean,
They knocked the
I
baby
can't hear
just to
you.
make sure like he
Yeah,
didn't
we're-
move.
ooh,
I can't hear you,
It
Mike.
is kind of chilly in here.
It is.
I can't hear you when you talk. You'll have to pause it if you say
Oh,
something.
okay. Sorry. I'll let it go.
Ask her.
Who fucking designed this house?
It's a castle, actually.
Exactly that. We're prone to solving mysteries.
So
I see Mikey Bowser. I see Sean. I know I saw Paul, Phil.
yeah. So Loveland Castle. We're definitely gonna do a documentary. It's probably gonna be one of the upcoming ones. It's a castle. This guy and he actually they thought he died. He was in I think it was around World War One. He was stationed at I forget where, Fort Brax or wherever the hell he was stationed, and they thought he died of tuberculosis. So they went and like all these people were dying. They thought he died, so they took him into the morgue, and they went to do an autopsy, and he started bleeding. And when you're dead, you don't bleed. Like your blood all coagulates or whatever, and stays in in a place. So you don't your blood doesn't run. It's like more solidified, I guess. It's thicker. And so he started bleeding. And they're like, holy shit, this guy's alive. They thought he was dead for like 3 days. And then like he was really, really sick, but he ended up recovering. And like in that time frame, I think it was like maybe 6 months, he was engaged to somebody. Well, she thought he was dead. She already married someone else and all this shit. And then he ended up going to war, to World War One. He ended up getting stationed in France, and he saved a Frenchman, saved his life. And then his dad was like, this guy's dad was obsessed with knights, so he knighted him before he went back to America. And he took that to heart and just started. He bought this property and started just getting river rocks out of the river and just in 5-gallon bucket pails and taking them up the hill and started building this castle. And this castle is fucking huge, and it's haunted as hell. And obviously, I mean, you saw the camera get knocked over by itself. And we had other cameras in the room with Sean to make sure that he didn't get up and move or something. Like he didn't knock the camera over. Yeah, it's such an interesting history. Like he started. I forget what they're called. It's like the Knights of something, but it's almost like the Boy Scouts, but it's like knights. They have it's like Boy Scouts, but with a fucking castle.
I'm gonna have to get into the paranormal topic once I get done with JFK. This sounds like there's some crazy ass backstories with some of these places.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, it's awesome.
I like that historical shit. It also makes me feel bad because that guy can build a castle out of river rocks, and I can't even make a house in Minecraft. So it's kind of
I know exactly.
I think I built a pillow fort one time, but it collapsed.
Yeah. Well, the next one that before we paused it, this is the one where I was in the I had the gas mask on and everything. This isn't that clip, but it's at the same location. It's called the Mysterious Monroe House, and it is dark and terrifying. It's probably the scariest place I would say that we've been to.
I want to solve this one. What is it that haunts this place? What makes it so negative? God. Jake, did you die at this location? Holy shit! You all right? Are you okay? Are you?
I don't get what just happened.
Okay, that last part. we were at a place called Pickle Jar. It actually just burnt down like 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
But it was a antique store. Yeah, a lot of history. And we were doing a spirit box session. It was Phil and I, and then two of the workers. And Phil and I was doing a spirit box session, and Phil was filming me. And this woman, I don't know, like, she claimed to be pushed. If she faked it, I mean, her back went right into this table. And that was like the noise you heard. Like, I asked, Jake, did you die at this location? And she claimed she got pushed, and that was the loud noise. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, what the hell just happened? But
Dude, I don't know. I want to go on one of these investigations now. I really wish a ghost would touch me. I would fucking beat the shit out of them.
well, at the Monroe house, when I was in that, when you saw me with the gas mask or whatever, the picture I posted recently, I did get touched. It was really crazy. My camera actually went out, which is super disappointing. You know how in that clip it said they dug up God? There was a paranormal team on a TV show that went there, and they actually, in that cubby area, it's like a hole in the wall in the basement. They went up in there and they found human remains. They found bones up there. And I don't know if that EVP is referring like they dug up God, like maybe, you know, I don't know. But they did dig up human remains at that location. And that's where I went up in with the mask on. It was actually one of those ones that protects you when you're painting or whatever.
Spray paint, yeah.
So that's what I had on. And I was doing the Estes method with the headphones on, and Sean was outside in the basement asking me questions. And I kept getting, I'm going to grab him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to grab him. It was a male's voice. And sure enough, like, something grabbed my balls.
Wow.
Freaked me out, man.
I didn't think you were going to go there with that. That's crazy.
Yeah. No joke. It grabbed me. I immediately got out of there. And then I was going to stay down there, but I was really concerned that when I went up in the cave area in the basement, there was all kinds of spiders everywhere. And I was really concerned that I would have spiders on me. So I hurried up and ran upstairs, got changed, and then came back down. And that's when we did that session. But yeah. It's, you know.
Did you know when he said that he was going to grab down there, or did it just happen so
No,
quick?
it just happened. It
Could have been like touched my bicep or something, not my nutsack.
Yeah, I've been touched.
Imagine if he said cough when he did it.
Yeah, I know. I've been touched a couple times. One time in Hillview Manor.
I'm sorry. The way you said that, you're like, I've been touched a couple of times. I was like, if you start off with Boy Scouts, I'll be pissed.
Yeah. At the castle, the Boy Scout cat. No, I'm joking. Hillview Manor. There's, you know, a hallway. Like, the place is, a lot of the TV shows say it's dark, but it's not really. It's really a nice place. It's an old nursing home. But there is one area where a patient attacked a nurse sexually. That place, that hallway is dark. And at one point, I tried to put myself in the most vulnerable position possible. So I had one of our former members tie my hands up and blindfold me. And I laid down on the ground in that hallway with a spirit box on me. And I felt like something grabbed my legs. Like it was coming up my legs. And I had to get out of it. It just freaked me out. And then afterwards, I had the former teammate untie my hands, and I just asked, what happened in this hallway? And through the spirit box, a man goes, don't tell him, don't say anything. And a female says, I was raped.
Dude.
Yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy. I mean, it's that's the unfortunate part. I mean, it's crazy what we do. But when you have instances like that, I mean, dealing with that's one thing, but dealing with that type of trauma, it definitely hits a different nerve, you know.
It's dark and deep.
Yeah.
Well,
you want to see one more ghost thing?
Yeah.
All right. This is just the
sorry, my responses are going to be slow. It's just heavy shit you're piling on top of me right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how to recover from a rape segment.
I know exactly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go there.
You can bring up something funny with Bill Cosby, but
yeah, want some pudding? But All right, this is the last one. This is just our upcoming documentary at Greenville Manor, an old funeral home, crazy place. There's definitely a portal there, and it doesn't show it in the clip, but we actually have something that we interacted with at the Bel Air house where there's a portal follow us, and we never got it at any other location except for Greenville. So I think there's a portal at Greenville, and something with some kind of demonic spider sense comes through and follows us from location to location with these portals. I don't know, it's weird. Here,
Yep.
play the clip here.
A building where energy from the past manifests to interact with the present.
Howard, are you in this room with us?
Something dormant and potentially otherworldly was awakened.
Something like grabbed on, you can see the fingers actually go up, pull its head out, stand all the way up, almost hitting the ceiling.
Tell me what your name is.
And lurks in the shadows of this once prominent home.
Are you evil? Green for yes, red for no. Yes. Now you say that you're evil. What are you? Demon. Did you hear that? Woo! I'm here.
Howard.
Holy sugar. Holy sugar.
Holy sugar.
Put your balls in the hole.
Good
Wait, it's Phil with 2 L's?
Now you listen to the Hannah. Okay?
Do you wanna? You know when you hear the fanny pack unzip. Party time.
So Phil's with 2 L's, not one?
Yeah, Phil is 2 L's.
I might have made a
For some
mistake on this
reason, our
episode.
team has two letters that don't make sense. So Phil has 2 L's, and Jen, even when it's just Jen, not Jennifer, is Jenn. That's their thing. And I'm Mike with 2 E's at the end.
I'm not criticizing anybody's name.
I'm
I
joking.
can't-
I'm not Mike with 2 E's. I just made that last one up.
I'm not criticizing anybody's names, so you know.
Yeah, Robbie Robertson.
Yeah. Mike, seriously, man, it's been a pleasure being able to talk with you. Is there anything else you want to let people know where they can find your YouTube, find any other links that you have? You know, I enjoy having you on the show. I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a while. Are you enjoying the JFK? Should I change topics?
No, keep it going, man. I find it fascinating for sure. I mean, you're my anytime I work out at 4:30 in the morning, I turn it low so we don't wake the baby, but I definitely check out of the Blank all the time. And yeah, I like the topic. I'm interested in the documentary. Hope you put it all together well, and I'm sure you will.
Either that or I'll get sued. So either way.
Well, try not to get sued, but
trying my hardest. I got to use content from all these sites, and they don't like the idea if you're going to make a film about conspiracy. So they like to verify what it is before they use it. So I could lie, but I mean, I think I'm just going to put fair use and just use it for historical purposes, make it free on YouTube. But I would like to submit it to a platform streamer. But that's the issue, is I have to go and find these people. That means I need to talk to family members of Secret Service agents that are no longer with us.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, anytime you monetize it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, you know, either way, it'd be cool to have it on Amazon or something, but you know, I make it free for YouTube and see what happens with it. People like it, and maybe I'll do something different.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested in the theater, let us know too. Sean has the connection there. I mean, you just have to fill it up yourself. There's, I forget how it works. We'll talk off air, but yeah, you just have to make sure you promote it and get asses in seats.
Perfect. All right. Where can people find you?
Bump Into Night Society. We're on pretty much every platform you can think of. We're really trying to bump up our YouTube page. So definitely check that out. You know, we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Even though Phil hasn't sent out a tweet in like 7 months, we need to get on his ass about that. But yeah, pretty much any platform. You can check us out, and we'll have more evidence and crazy shit for sure.
I'll link it all in the description. It's been a pleasure chatting, and thanks for listening to this episode of Out the Blank Podcast. Stay tuned for another episode.